we go. Perfect. All right. I can see you guys. And we will work on legs. Some leg strength. We all need some of that, right? All right. Pop that down. Don't need it quite yet. Seem to have lost my water. It's all right. All right. So make sure you guys have water close by. I always give an opportunity for some water breaks while we transition through. I usually see Myrna with her mug, so maybe it's tea. Oh, she's got water today. Awesome. All right, guys. So I want you to sit down. You can put your hands in whatever way is most comfortable for you. So if that means your palms are down, they can be down. You want your palms up, they can be up. They can be in your lap, kind of fingertips touching one another. That's fine as well. But basically, when you're sitting, I don't want you leaning back in your chair. Okay. I want you to use the musculature of your torso to hold you upright. And you're just going to look down at your feet. They should be about hip distance apart. And you want to make sure that one foot's not further in front of the other foot. So if there were an imaginary line going across your toes, all your toes would touch that line in the same spot. And then once you make sure that's correct, you're going to lift your toes up. I want you to spread them super wide so you can actually feel a stretch in between the toes themselves. And then you're just very gently going to let them rest back down. So they don't press down, but they just gently rest. And then press the heels down. And so immediately when the heels press down, you should start to feel some engagement in the quads. Okay, so it's not a whole lot, but a little bit of strength happening. So now relax the heels. And then press the heels back down again. We're just going to do that a couple of times, waking up those quads. So relax the heels and then press them down again. The toes remain relaxed the whole time. Good. Relax the heels one more time here. And then press the heels down again. Keep pressing the heels down. Keep those quads nice and engaged. And then notice what your default is. So what I mean by what is your default? We typically are one of two people. So we either are someone who's going to lean forward when we sit down, or we're typically someone who's going to kind of slouch back when we sit down. Rarely do I find somebody who naturally automatically is completely neutral right on the center of the sits bone. So notice the default first. And then what you're going to do is you are going to actually rock a little forward and back. And you're just noticing how the weight shifts from the front of the sit bones to the back of the sit bones. And what you're looking for is your neutral. Okay, where is the very center of your sits bones? And so this is nice to start to open up the low back a little bit as well. And then once you find where the center of the sits bones are, you're gonna stick it. And stay right there. And just imagine, like, energetically, that there were two beams of energy shooting straight out through the sits bones down into the ground, heels still pressed down. And then you pull the low belly in a little bit, lift up through the front of the spine, and then let the shoulders pull back and down. Even if the elbows, if you have to take the elbows back a little bit and then press the elbows down to get that action, go ahead and do that. And then now you'll gently close your eyes. And we're going to start with those three sighs. So 3 times you're going to breathe in through your nose, you're going to open your mouth, sigh through the mouth. Now you can continue to breathe in and out through the mouth if you need a few more sighs, or you can start to just breathe in and out through the nose. Totally up to you. But keeping with your eyes closed here, I just want you to notice, are you still pressing down through the heels? Are you still lifting up through the front of the spine? Are the shoulders still pulling back? Are you on the center of the sits bone? So has anything shifted off center? And if it has, just fix that. And then you're coming back to the breath after you do that little physical assessment. And maybe for the first time today, you're noticing the simple fact that you're breathing. Maybe noticing the breath and the coolness as it's coming in, and noticing the breath and the warmth of the breath as it's going out. And then you're going to do your best to try to keep your mind focused on the breath throughout the remainder of the class. I will remind you to do so as well. But even as we're moving, even as we're getting into challenging poses, if we're getting in easy poses, right? Stay focused on the breath. And then when you're ready, you're going to slowly let your eyes start to flutter back open. Very nice. And we are going to start with some quad strengthening exercises. So you're going to start just on the right foot. You need to adjust yourself in the seat at all, do so, but you're going to try to keep everything the same as it was a moment ago. The only thing you're moving is your right lower leg. Right. So as you inhale, you're going to straighten that right leg, flex your foot, push your heel away, lift your chest. And then as you exhale, you're just going to let that foot tap down, and then you're going to move slowly with your breath, your pace. Okay. So if the breath is really deep right now, then the movement's going to be a lot slower. If your breath is really fast, then your movement is obviously going to be faster. A lot of times, the slower you go, the more benefit you get, especially with strengthening exercises. A lot of times, you'll start to feel, I like to say, feel that work in the quad, maybe even a little bit in the hip flexor. We're going to do two more. And one more. Then we're going to give that a little break, press that right heel down, and then come to the left side. Same thing. Okay, so you want to have your foot flexed. That actually protects your knee when you flex your foot like that. It engages the right muscles around the knee to keep it really protected. And of course, doing this with breath. If it's too hard or too confusing to do the movement with the breath, of course, you don't have to. But it is a nice way to tie in the breath with the movement. Okay, so inhaling as you straighten the leg and exhaling as you bend the knee. And just tapping that foot back down. And again, at this point, you might start to feel some of that work in the quads, some of that work a little bit in the hip flexor as well. We will stretch that out when we stand up here in a little bit. Good. We're going to do two more. Awesome. All right. So bring it back to neutral. Press that left heel down. You're going to walk the left foot out, not very far, just a little bit wider than hips distance. And now what I want you to do is you're actually going to kind of point your toes and you're going to roll onto the outside edge of your foot, to your right foot. Okay. And you're going to lift up and then let it lower back down. So what we're working on right now is strengthening through the inner thighs. It's a really hard place to strengthen. And you're just lifting up and you're bringing it back down. So if you find that's difficult or causes any discomfort, you can always take your right hand and help lift your leg up like so. Probably see it a little better if I showed you on the side. Right? So you can help give yourself a little bit of a lift if that feels too challenging for you. That's your modification. Otherwise, keeping that chest nice and high, from the spine lifted, left heel pressing down. Good. Let's do two more. Right, the back wants to round when you lift that leg, so just being mindful of that. Very good. Let that right leg come down just a little wider than hip distance. Press the heel down, and then you're going to roll onto the pinky toe side. Goodness gracious, pinky toe side on the left leg. Okay, same. So right heel pressing down, and you're just lifting up and then bringing it back down. So again, starting to feel a little bit of that strength in the inner thigh area. Good, very nice. Notice the temptation for the chest to fall forward when the leg lifts, right? So you're strong in the core, strong in the back. Beautiful. And you're breathing. Two more. One. Very good. Two. Very nice. All right. Bring the feet back. So they're about hip distance apart now. So a little bit closer. And you're going to scoot forward a little bit in your chair. I actually might turn sideways to show you. You stay exactly how you are. This is just to show you a better angle. Okay, so I'm going to scoot myself forward and I'm going to take my hands and I'm going to put them, the heel of the hands on the back of the chair, kind of like behind my bottom. And then I'm going to bend my elbows so that my chest comes back a little bit. Now I'm not rounding my back, okay, keeping my chest nice and lifted. And then you're going to start with the right leg. So you're going to take your right leg, slide the foot out, bend the knee, bring it in, tap it down. Slide the foot out, bend the knee, bring it in, tap it down. So what we're doing here is a little bit of work, hip flexor, a little bit in the abs, okay, a little bit in the back. The back is having to hold you up so you don't slouch. And you will usually start to feel that hip flexor working pretty soon here, if not already. We did this on the floor yesterday. Good. Last one. Then we'll switch sides. Very nice. And switch sides. So now left foot, you're going to slide it forward, bend the knee, bring it in, tap it down. Slide it forward, bend the knee, bring it in, and tap it down. Just observing here, the chest dropping. It wants to. Good. Two more. Very nice. And that's the last one there. And so stay how you are, turning again, just so you can see. And we'll come into cat-cows. So we did some good strengthening with the legs right now. We'll do more of that when we stand up in a minute, promise. And cat-cows. So hands are on the thighs. Sometimes I like to put them right on my kneecaps here. I like to teach cat-cow where you start the movement in the tailbone, then one vertebra at a time. It's like a roll, and then you end the movement with the head. So when you exhale, when you're breathing out, you're gonna bring that tailbone forward, round the middle, low back, the middle back, the upper back, let the head drop. When you inhale, you're lifting the tailbone, arching the low back, the middle back, the upper back, and let the head lift. Right? So just flowing through. This is completely at your own pace. Whatever pace of breath is comfortable. Good. I'm gonna have you do one more full breath here. So an exhale and an inhale. And then you're gonna bring yourself back to neutral. Very nice. And then I call this barrel rolls. So it's basically you're making a circle, but I do like to say you're not making a circle with your shoulders. Okay. The shoulders are going to move, certainly. I want you to think of this circle being made with either your belly button or your waist. Okay. Your brain is going to hear one of those better, but it's the same thing. Okay. So you're making this circle if your waist going in a circle or your belly button drawing a circle. If you have like back pain, I'm telling you, cat cow and doing these barrel rolls in the morning are so helpful. Always incorporate these. So the shoulders come along for the ride. I like to say they're not driving, they're in the passenger seat. Very good. The next time your circle comes forward, you're just going to reverse it. So you can go the other direction. And about one more circle. Awesome. Bring yourself back to neutral. Come into that cat pose. So the cat pose is when your back is really rounded. And then you're going to let your arms, your forearms, just kind of rest here on your thighs. Let your head drop. So the back is rounded. You might feel like you're engaging your abdominals, pulling them in towards the spine a little bit here. If this feels really easy, if you're not restricted of putting your torso and your chest on your thighs and you want a little bit more, then you're going to let that happen. You're going to drop your chest and torso on the thighs, let the arms drop down, let the head drop down. Anytime we hold a forward fold like this, I'm a huge believer in sighs. So you may take one or two sighs here, just breathing in through the nose, open the mouth side out. Good. And then whatever position you are in, you're just going to walk yourself all the way back up to sit. Great. Once you're up, we're going to come into my shimmy twist. I still don't have a better name for it, so always open to suggestions here. So you're going to bring your knees pretty wide, and you always want your knees to point to your second and third toe. So that will help you determine where your toes need to point. You always want to be able to see your big toe anytime you're bending your knee in really any position. And then you're going to take your fingertips inside here of the inner thighs, heel of the hand on top of the thighs. You're going to exhale and just drop one shoulder forward, bring it back up. You exhale, go to the other side. This is one of my favorite twists ever. And I always think it's really neat because the first one or two that you do on each side, you feel the restriction, you feel where there's tightness. But then after you do a couple of them, you can really notice how you open up. So it's very tangible. Just exhaling, drop one shoulder forward, twist. You might even look over your back shoulder if that feels good. You can do that. Good. I think it's just dropping that shoulder straight forward and down in the middle. Awesome. Yes. Good. So for my count, I'm going to do one more each side. Lovely. After you do one more each side, just come back to center and we're going to come all the way up to stand. So I always like to offer a couple moments for you to take a sip of water when we transition. So if you want to stand up and grab a little bit of water, you are welcome to. I'll give you some time for that. I always encourage water. Right? I always thought it was interesting that as a yoga teacher, you find yourself reminding people to do like two of the most basic things. Remind people to breathe and remind people to drink water. But Put my crazy hair up. All righty. So it looks like you guys got your water. That's good. And you are going to stand in front of your chair now. See the chairs facing you, feet hip distance apart. And we're going to really quickly go through standing mountain pose, which is pretty much what we did when we were first sitting down, but now we're standing. So you're going to lift your toes, spread them nice and wide, softly, gently put them back down, press the heels down a lot, and you should feel the quads engage. So same thing. Notice what your default is, right? Are you someone who leans forward? Is the tailbone lifting up? Are you someone who slouches back, the tailbone coming forward, right? Keep those legs super strong. Lift up from the pubic bone all the way up the front of the spine. Let the tailbone drop down, the lower abdominals engage. Turn the palms forward. You'll notice when the palms turn forward, the shoulders naturally and automatically go back. Right? So I always encourage people, like when you're standing in line, do this. Get your practice in whenever you can. Why not? All right, keep pressing those heels down. You're going to inhale, reach the arms up nice and high. You're going to exhale, fold from the hip crease. Take your hands to the seat of the chair, forward fold. Very nice. So just observe in this forward fold if you kind of went back to what your default was standing up. Okay. Is your back rounded? If it is, bend your knees a little. Reach the tailbone back. Okay. You want a nice neutral spine. Are you hyper flexible? Right? Is your back super arched? If it is, then you can always drop it down to your forearms. That's an alternative. All right. Bend the right knee, lift the left arm, twist. Beautiful. Come back to center. Bend the left knee, lift the right arm, twist. And bring it back to center. Walking on back, Adho Mukha, downward facing dog. So down dog, when you're doing it in a chair, it's very different than down dog on the floor. Feet are still hip distance apart here. Hands are on the seat of the chair. Reach those fingertips forward, let your head drop. So very similar to the forward fold, if you find that your back is super rounded, I want you to bend your knees, reach your tailbone back and up. Okay. And if you can do that and then straighten your legs without rounding your back, you may. Awesome. Bring it forward, warrior one on the right side. So right foot's coming forward, bend the knee, drop the left heel down to the floor. And then you've got several options for your hands here. Okay, you might keep your hands down. You might take your hands to the back of the chair. It gets a little harder that way. You might take your hands to your hips and really lift up through the torso. You might reach your arms out to the side. I feel like this one has like a million options for the arms, or you can reach the arms all the way up and come to the full expression of the pose. Okay, so couple things. Make sure you can see your right big toe. Make sure your knee is in the right alignment so you're not messing it up. And then push back a lot through the left leg, like a lot. That's the back leg. You're pushing that thigh back. You should feel tons of strength in the quad. Push that left heel down. Bring a little lightness into the left toes. Maybe you bend that right knee any amount more. So it's a really strong pose, really, really strong. Press down through the feet and the legs, lift up through the arms and the chest. Awesome. Take those hands to the seat of the chair. You're just going to transition, come back to down dog for a moment. Good. Switch sides, warrior one on the left side. So left foot's forward, bend the knee. Drop that right heel down. Figure out where you want your hands. Seat of the chair, back of the chair, hips, out to the side, up in the air. Lots of options. I'm super big on alignment. And so make sure you can see your left big toe. Make sure the knee's not tracking in or tracking out too much. See that left big toe? Push back tremendously through the right leg. Right leg pushes back, the thigh pushes back. Good. The heel pushes down, lightness in the right toes. And then you're pressing down through the legs, up through the chest, up through the arms. Breathe, breathe. Beautiful. Take those hands back down to the seat of the chair. Come forward into that forward fold where you started. Good. So I always give the option, you can stay in forward fold. If you want to take a chair pose, then you can. Another thing I will note about the knees is to make sure when you're in chair pose that you can see all 10 of your toes. So all the weight is in the heels. If you're going to do a chair pose, shift that weight back, bend the knees, drop the hips. Maybe you reach your arms forward, look down, make sure you can see all 10 of your toes. Super duper important. Breathe. Right? You might even pretend you're squeezing an imaginary block in between your knees here, and you'll feel those inner thighs start to engage and strengthen. You got it. We're not here forever. Remember, everything is temporary. Beautiful. Inhale, rise and shine. Bring it all the way back up. And then take it back to the heart. Good. Bring the arms down by your sides, palms face forward. Quick check with your alignment. We're going to do the exact same thing, but we're going to do it faster this time. Right? So heels pressed down, thighs engaged. Lifting up through the front of the spine, tailbone heavy. Inhale, reach. Exhale, fold from the hip crease, forward fold. Good. Bend the right knee, lift the left arm, twist. Very good. Bring it back to center. Bend the left knee, lift the right arm, twist. Awesome. Bring it back to center. Walk yourself back, downward facing dog. Remind yourself if you need to bend your knees because your back is rounding, do it. Better that your back is neutral than your legs are straight. I care less about legs being straight, more about the spine. All right, bring that right knee forward, warrior one, right side. Right knee bend, drop the left heel. Make sure you can see your right big toe. And then place your hands, seat of the chair, back of the chair, hips out to the side, up in the air. Good, very good. You can see that right big toe, push back a lot through the left leg. If you want to scoot your left foot back a little more and make this harder, you can, but you got to bend that right knee a little more if you do that. Beautiful. Go ahead and take the hands down. Bring it back down dog just for a quick transition. And left leg coming forward, warrior one. Left knee bend. Right heel's down. Find your hand position. Make sure you can see your left big toe. Good. If you want it to be harder, you're scooting your right foot back just a little. But you have to bend your left knee a little more too. Okay, so there's a lot more engagement in the muscles in the lower body when you do that. Very nice. Awesome. Take the hands to the seat of the chair, bring it forward, forward fold. Take a rest and forward fold. If you want to do your chair pose, lift the toes, put the weight back in the heels, bend the knees, drop the hips. Maybe you lift your arms up. You're doing chair, make sure all 10 toes are visible. Breathe. Pretend you're squeezing that imaginary block in between the knees here. Big breaths. Awesome sauce. Inhale. Very nice. Very nice. Inhale, rise and shine. Exhale, bring it back to the heart. Very good. We're going to add on. Inhale, reach. And exhale, fold. Nice neutral spine. Bend the right knee, lift the left arm, twist. Good. Switch side. Bend the left knee, lift the right arm, twist. Very nice. Bring it back to center. Walk it back, down dog, Adho Mukha. Bend your knees if you need to. Nothing wrong with it. Hop that right foot forward. Warrior one. Drop down onto the left heel. Make sure you can see that right big toe. right? If you want to widen the stance, you can. If you want to bend that knee deeper, you can. You guys choose what you want to do. Maybe the arms are tired and you choose to be a T or take your hands to your hips. It's all good. Very nice. Take your hands to the seat of the chair, bring it back, down dog. Quick transition. We won't be here long. And warrior one, left side. Left foot comes forward, bend the knee. Good. Right heel is down. Find the position of the hands. Beautiful. Remember to ground down through the lower body, through the legs, through the feet, so that the upper body is free to lift up. Beautiful. Take those hands to the chair. Bring it up. Forward fold. All right. You are going to, lots of options with this. Take your right foot, bring it behind you with your toes on the ground. Okay. If this feels easy, work on lifting that right leg in the air, flex the foot. Okay. So one thing I'm going to tell you with alignment, and this has to do a lot with the hip, is if you find your right toes are pointing out to the side, okay, you need to make sure those right toes are pointing down, straight down. So you might look behind you or just assess and feel. The toes are going to point straight down to the floor. Now bend the knee, squeeze the heel towards the glute. Right side. You can do this if your foot's on the floor. You can do the same action. And you're just going to do that repeatedly. Right? Exhale as you squeeze it in. Inhale as you straighten out. Press the heel away. Working on the hamstring here, the back of the thigh. If you're really pressing through the heel, when that leg is straight, you're going to feel that in your glute also. Awesome. Take that right leg down. We're going to go to the other side. So, option one, toes are on the floor. Option two, you're working your way, getting that left leg up, hip level. Notice the alignment, okay? So left toes are pointing down, not out to the left. They're pointing down. That actually changes the pelvis, the position of the pelvis. And you want it in the right position to get the hamstring nice and strong. So as you exhale, squeeze the heel towards the glute. As you inhale, straighten the leg, push the heel away. It's okay to feel some heat. It's just your body making energy, using and making energy, since energy really cannot be created nor destroyed. It just changes. We're going to do one more. And let that left foot come down. You can take your rest here in forward fold or take our last chair pose option if you want. If you're doing that, lift the toes, bring the weight back to the heels, bend the knees, drop the hips. Make sure you can see all 10 of your toes. Maybe you lift the arms straight out in front of you. Yeah, you got it. Pretend there's an imaginary block between your knees. Squeeze that imaginary block. Don't let the knees come too far in. Beautiful. Inhale, rise and shine. Bring it all the way up. Exhale, take it to the heart. Lovely. Come behind your chair for a moment. So I want you to be able to have the back of the chair to hold onto. Lovely. So I call this side skiing again. Open to suggestions of different names. So I'm going to hold on to the back of my chair. I might do it this way so you can see a little bit better. I'm going to hold the back of my chair. I'm going to bend my knees. Okay, my weight's going to be back in my heels so my knees aren't coming really far forward. And I'm going to take my right leg, I'm going to come up to my tippy toes, and I'm just going to slide it out to the side, and I'm going to bring it all back. Okay, you're going to slide it out, and you're going to bring it all back. So what we're working on right now is a little bit of the side hip area, right? The request was leg and hip strengthening today, so we're doing it, right? Gonna slide it out, and you bring it back in. So even though this leg is the one that's moving, right, your standing leg that's not moving, it's doing a lot of work. So you can probably feel some work on both sides. A lot of times I even feel more work in the leg that I'm standing that's not moving. Very good. Let's do one more. Awesome. Stay just like this. Lean forward a little bit. Bring your toes behind you and just give a couple little pulses. It's not a big movement. You're going to feel this in the glute. Right? Strong glutes are important for walking, so that your low back doesn't overtake too much of the brunt of just walking around, standing. And release that. Very nice. Stand up. I like to give like a little shimmy shake with my hips because it just feels good. Just feels good. All right. And then you guys don't have to turn. I'm just turning so you can see me better. We're gonna do the same thing on the other side, right? So you're gonna bend the knees, make sure you can see your toes. Take that other leg, bring it out, slide it back in. Bring it out, slide it back in. Right? Nice and slow, nothing crazy. And again, our mind automatically thinks, oh, the part of my body that's doing the movement, I'm going to focus on that more. But really, you notice that the leg that you're standing on that's not doing the movement is getting really strong just by holding you. Good. One more. Keep it how it is. Let the chest come forward a little bit. Toes go back, and you just pulse it. Just these little tiny pulses, right? If you notice that your toes were sticking out to the side when we were doing that grounded warrior earlier, just notice that now. Make sure those toes are pointing straight down so you're working the back of the glute. And release. Very nice. So have a seat. Just want to do one pigeon pose stretch as we work the legs and the hips a bit. And then I will have you go to your comfortable place to relax. Okay, so pigeon pose is an excellent stretch for the hips. And I will say, if it's difficult for you to get like right ankle over the left knee, like so, if that's really hard for you to do that, right? Your modification, you can always like cross your right ankle in front of your left. Or if you have like an ottoman or another chair or anything in front of you, you can do like this and just kind of set it on there. Otherwise, ankle comes over the thigh, flex the foot, keep it flexed. Okay. You might stay exactly like this. This might be plenty of stretch. You should be feeling it kind of in that side glute hip area. If you want more stretch, keep the front of the spine lifted and you start to lean forward. Okay. And you got to breathe so deep here. Nice and deep and slow. Good. Notice if you're clenching your teeth, relax the jaw. And then release out of that. Bring yourself back up. You lean forward, and then we're going to go to the other side. So always remember, one side can feel very different than the other side. So you might be in a different position this time. That's fine. Okay. So modification is always to drop it down, put it on an ottoman. Otherwise, you're up here. Flex the foot. Super important, again, for that knee safety. I've always been a big stickler on knee safety. Good. If you're leaning forward, keep that chest nice and high and then start to lean forward. You don't want to round the back. It takes the stretch away. You want to keep that chest lifted as you bring it forward and down. And you breathe. Big, slow breath. You remember the beginning of the class, I said, challenge yourself to keep your focus on your breath, even when we're in hard poses, even when we're in poses where your mind wants to wander. Stay with the breath, relax the jaw. Awesome. Bring yourself all the way back up. If you did lean forward, very good. All right. So now is that time where I like to ask you to go somewhere super comfortable. Okay. I'm going to get a little box to put my tablet on. It's Christmas time, so I've got boxes everywhere. I'm sure many do. So remember that it doesn't matter if you see me, I don't need to see you. The only thing that matters right now is A, you're comfortable and you're not having to hold yourself, and B, that you can hear me. Those are the only two things that are really, really important for this next part. So take your time, get yourself settled. Everyone kind of settles at their own pace. Yeah, if you get cold when you relax, put a blanket on. If you get hot when you relax, get under a fan. Once you get to that point, let your eyes close. Right? Make sure your head is supported. Place your arms, your hands somewhere that's comfortable. Once again, where they can just relax. Once you find that you're in that comfortable place, you're going to take those 3 cleansing breaths again, the kind that we started out in the beginning of class. So 3 times it's an inhalation through your nose, and then you open your mouth and you just let go, just sigh. And after that, you're going to let the breath come in and out just through the nose. And then again, just paying attention to the fact that you're breathing. You're going to notice the breath as it comes in, and you're going to notice the breath as it goes out. Notice how the temperature of the air changes. Coming in, it's warm, or sorry, coming in, it's cold, and going out, it's warm. So there's once again that kind of energy exchange that occurs. And then, depending on whether you are a visual person or somebody who just feels better, um, you do this one of 2 ways. So you're either going to visualize or you're going to feel the breath that travels from the nostrils through the sinuses, down the back of the throat, all the way down to the lower lungs. And then you're going to follow that breath from the lower lungs all the way back up through the throat, the sinuses, and out the nose. I just want you to do this several times. A lot of times when we get quiet and still, what happens is our mind starts to wander, it starts to talk and think. If you find that happening, I've noticed that sometimes if you say to yourself, inhale, exhale, or if you count how long your inhale is and how long the exhale is, it gives your mind something to focus on, that's correlated with the work that you're doing, the breath work. And the reason you're bringing that breath all the way to the lower portion of the lungs is we're trying to start to really tie into that diaphragm. Okay. So the diaphragm is a dome shaped muscle. It's on the bottom of the rib cage. When you do diaphragmatic breathing, it stimulates the vagus nerve. It stimulates the parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and the digest part, the nervous system. So it relaxes you. So when you're breathing down into the lower lungs, start to feel the floating ribs, the lower part of the rib cage expand when you breathe in. And then let it relax when you breathe out. Just kind of let go. There's not much effort in the exhale. Just release and you drop down. Maybe you feel yourself every time you breathe out, just getting a little heavier. Breathing out and feeling your neck relax. And breathing out and feeling your cheeks relax. Breathing out and feeling the muscles around your eyes relax. Breathing out and feeling small muscles behind your ears relax. When those muscles relax, the ones behind your ears are very tiny, your scalp will actually also relax. But just observing that if it occurs. And every inhale, still really tapping into those floating ribs expanding. You might feel them lifting up. You might feel them expanding laterally to the sides. Whatever you feel, just try to draw that breath down into those floating ribs without force. Maybe it takes several rounds of breath for that to happen. It's fine. And every time breathing out, you're just giving into that universal force of gravity, feeling yourself getting heavier, and dropping down to a place where you feel peaceful, where you can let go the stresses of life. And you might feel really comfortable doing what you're doing right now. And if you are, then keep doing that. And some of you may want to begin to incorporate a really gentle pause at the very end of the inhalation. So you breathe in from the nose to the sinuses and the throat to those floating ribs, the lower lungs. You let that expand and then you pause. And there's no specific amount of time you need to pause for. You pause until you feel the need to breathe out. And then you breathe out and you follow that breath from the floating ribs to the throat, the sinuses, out the nose. and you let the body let go. Wherever you're tight, let it go on the breath out. The neck, the shoulders, the face, the head, the hands, the feet, the chest, anywhere. You're incorporating that pause on the inhalation. Then one more thing you might do, feels okay, is to also incorporate a pause at the very end of the exhale. So it's that inhale, pause. You feel the need to breathe out, just breathe out, let go, relax, let it go out, pause. You feel the need to breathe in, send it all the way down. And then you pause and you let it out. And you relax, and you pause. And it's just this beautiful cycle of breathing and pausing, of inviting in and letting go, and relaxing, just finding that peace. I've always found it really remarkable how just by changing the way in which you're breathing, you can change yourself physically, you can change your mental state, you can change your emotional state, right? All of these shifts can begin to happen when you slow the breath down, you pay attention to the flow. Just as you may notice when you're stressed or anxious or scared, right? The breath is short, it's shallow, it's quick. Your mind is all over the place, it's not grounded. Your heart is beating faster. So, in those moments when they arise, because they arise for all of us at different times, just being aware of it is the first humongous step. So, you become aware, okay, my breath is all over the place. My mind is all over the place. My heart is all over the place. Let me slow the breath down. And you can do this anywhere. You don't need to be laying down and rely. You can do this when you're talking to somebody. Do this in your car, anywhere. And that's what's really powerful is that your breath is a tool that you always have with you. You never leave your breath at home. You don't forget it in your car, right? You always have it with you. So you always have that opportunity to change your state of being as long as you have the awareness, you have the tool, right? So again, it's slow inhalations. Feel those floating ribs expand, the lower lungs. Pausing if you want to. Slowly letting that breath come out, letting anything be released that needs to be released. And then you pause if you want to, and you just repeat it over and over and over. And the more you practice, the easier it is, the quicker you'll be able to drop down into that stillness. But it's a really beautiful place to be, and it's a really empowering thing to know that you can bring yourself there. You don't need somebody else. You can do it. You are amazing. You are powerful. You are everything already. You are loving. You are love. You are stardust. compressed into a physical being. I always like to give that opportunity for you to stay, stay where you are. The great thing about doing a virtual class is if you're like in that really groovy spot, you just want to stay there, stay. Don't get up. Enjoy it. Come back whenever you want to come back. When you do come back, you wiggle your fingers and your toes. You stretch, you open your eyes, slowly come up. But I will end, and I do mean this truly, that I love you, that you're amazing, that I'm blessed to have the opportunity to guide you, that I hope you have an amazing, amazing week. Very nice. Peaceful thoughts, peaceful words, peaceful intentions. Namaste. Yay.